This is very important, people. Extremely important. Extremely. We have to talk now about Brittney Griner's release that happened today. And we have to talk about it because apparently some people want to turn an American hostage being returned back to America at no fault of her own, essentially, no fault of her own. Because even if you want to say, oh, she shouldn't have had pot, it's fucking pot. Who gives a shit, right? Back to the United States. People are turning this into a political issue. And it shouldn't be a political issue. She is an American. That means she comes home. Okay? But people are trying to turn this into some grand narrative of like Biden being played or something, right? No, that's not what's going on here. And we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to be you're going to see me visibly upset about some of the things that we're reading here because it is extremely, extremely upsetting, extremely frustrating. And I don't want to tolerate this nonsense because it is a borderline conspiracy, what some people are saying online about this. I have heard all sorts of stuff across Facebook, Twitter, TikTok about what this release actually means and what Biden chose to do for this release. So we need to talk about it. We need to talk about the implications. We need to talk about the realities. We're going to get into it. Let's go ahead and get started. So Brittney Griner, the U.S. women's basketball player taken into custody in Russia soon after the invasion, has been released from Russian prison and returned to the United States. The U.S. swapped Griner for the Russian arms dealer Viktor Bout, also known as the Merchant of Death. However, former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan is still in Russian custody. Dialogue on a possible prisoner swap with Whelan is ongoing, according to his lawyers. Whelan was convicted by a Russian court in 2020 on espionage charges and sentenced to 16 years in Russia's high-security prison. He has denied all charges. The exchange has angered members of the U.S. Congress, who said that bringing Griner home instead of Whelan was a gift to Putin. How was this a gift to Putin? Tell me that. Tell me how that was a gift to Putin. I want to know. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Republican of Georgia, tweeted that the President Biden should be impeached for this action. Entirely laughable. But when we look behind the headlines, where the facts live and clickbait dies, we find that Russian government treated the release of additional prisoners in exchange as a non-starter. Quote, "This was not a choice about which American to bring home," Biden said at a press conference announcing Griner's release. For totally illegitimate reasons, Russia is treating Paul's case differently from Brittney's. We will keep negotiating in good faith for Paul's release. Now, we're going to go over to the little Twitter bird to look at some additional things. Then I'm going to talk about some things that people have said through this. And then we're going to talk about what actually happened with Brittney Griner. Well, no, actually, first, we're going to talk about what actually happened with Brittney Griner. Then we are going to look at the lies that are happened. And then we're going to talk about it again because we're making a truth sandwich. Now, according to NBC News and the Associated Press, we're going to go over here. David Whelan, okay, let's zoom this in. We got to get it big and large so y'all can read it so you know I'm not blowing smoke up your asses. So David Whelan, Paul Whelan's brother, said gaining the release of Griner, who was detained in February at Moscow airport after Russian authorities said that they found vape canisters with cannabis oil in her luggage, was, quote, the right decision, rather than waiting for one that wasn't going to happen. So the family is fully on board. Paul Whelan's family is fully on board with this. Closest brother is fully on board with this. This is also what they said. It is important to me that it is clear that we do not begrudge Miss Griner's her freedom, David Whelan said. As I have often remarked, Brittney and Paul's cases were never really intertwined. It has always been a strong possibility that one might be freed without the other. Because of course it is. The Russian government, under Putin, believes that Paul Whelan is a spy. Rumor has it that he was captured with USBs trying to buy information from FSB agents about Russia. That's what they claim. If that is what Putin believes, of course he's not going to want to turn this guy over for anything that is short of an actual spy exchange sort of situation, because that makes sense. So with that said though, there is people online thinking that it was one or the other, and Biden chose a basketball player over a Marine. We're going to go over to the Twitter bird and we're going to look at some of these tweets and we're going to yell at them, because that's all we can do. As sad as that says, as sad as that is all we can do. And it is frankly, it's so bad. It's so bad. I hate this so much. It's so upsetting. It's very upsetting. But we're going to go over Dan Crenshaw. This was likely not a simple choose him or her, but if it was, okay. So you're saying it's likely that it wasn't, but if it was, so you're putting it out there that it might have been a possibility. You choose the guy that served our country, Paul Whelan. We should get an explanation from this administration immediately. Well, the administration did say Russia is treating this case separately. This was posted at 2:04 p.m. The Biden announcement happened at what, like 1 noon? It happened this afternoon. I was at lunch when I heard about it. So that's already a thing that's like completely entirely fucked up. Thanks, Dan Crenshaw. We know who butters your bread. Oh, Kevin McCarthy, Merchant of Death. That's a nickname of prisoner Biden returned to Putin. He was convicted of conspiring to kill American law enforcement. This is a gift to Vladimir Putin and endangers Americans' lives. Leaving Paul Whelan behind for this is unconscionable. There was no leaving behind. So we have fear-mongering about what Victor Bout, Lord of War, Nicolas Cage fame. All right. Good movie, actually. Bout was exchanged. He was known as the Merchant of Death. And the reason he was known as the Merchant of Death wasn't because he was trying to kill Americans, although that's why he was arrested. It was because he took former Soviet Union bloc members' weapons, excess weapons, and sold them across the world. Second thing, Victor Bout was going to be released from prison in the next 5 to 9 years. Almost the exact same time that Brittney Griner was going to be released from Russian prison. Let me say that again. This guy's already served almost, 20 years? Let's look that up real quick. So he's already been in prison for 10 years. There's that. Now, so we have the kind of normal, Republican-esque tactics, things of being like, we shouldn't have released the Merchant of Death onto the American people. We got that. Now it's time for the craziness. Starting up with Charlie Kirk. But under known circumstances, should an international arms dealer who targeted U.S. civilians have been released? This is pure idiocy. So, Charlie Kirk, what you're basically saying here is that you don't want an American to come home. Russia had given the Biden administration a single option. We'll exchange Brittney Griner for Victor Bout. Take it or leave it. What else would you have them do? Leave Brittney Griner in prison for a few years while they worked on another deal? You're going to make an American citizen suffer in prison in Russia over politics for a guy that was scheduled to be released anywhere between 5 and 9 years from today. Why? No, seriously. Why? Make it make sense to me. Charlie Kirk, why do you think that's a good idea? Is it because you think she's an American-hating lefty? Is it because of her identity? Well, it is Charlie Kirk, so it's probably all those things. No probably about it. We know it's those things because he has called her an anti-American piece of shit that should remain in Russian prison because she hates America. So according to Charlie Kirk, who loves America and wants all Americans to be protected, we should leave this woman in Russian prison for 9 years for what? Politics? Really? But wait, there's more. And these are only instances of things that I found fairly quickly, mind you. I didn't go down the rabbit holes and looked at everybody. Benny Johnson, meet Brittney Griner and Maureen Paul Whelan, both Americans. Both were convicted in Russian courts on dubious charges, both serving multi-year sentences in Russian prison. Brittney hates America. Paul served America. Guess which one Biden traded a terrorist to free? Semper Fi, Paul. Ah, yes. So, it was a choice. It was a choice. You think it was a choice that Biden chose to to exchange Victor for Griner, not Paul? Do you really believe that? Are you that stupid? Quibbles, I see your comment. I will get to it in a second. I need to dunk on these people for not making the good point that you are. Because they're not making it because they don't care. Because they don't. They don't. They care about the internal politics of this by saying that a black woman, a gay black woman that plays basketball, was playing in Russia with a weed pen that hated America, got released. They don't think she's deserving of it because they're not the kind of American that they like. She's not the kind of American that they like. That is all this is. And then, to put the final point on this with another tweet from another useless piece of shit, we have Matt Walsh. Biden gave up a Russian arms dealer in exchange for an anti-American WNBA player while leaving U.S. Marine Paul Whelan to rot in Russian prison. This is an abomination. Our country is run by incompetent scumbags, according to Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, you're an incompetent scumbag. You're pedophile. And I'm not just saying that. He thinks 16-year-olds should be getting pregnant. Again, it's because of this nonsense. This is all they care about. She doesn't think America is the best thing on the planet or had said something about America's racist history, and so they don't want her to be released from prison at all. That is all this is to these people. And that is probably why, and this is a good point, this is the only move that maybe Putin did that could be considered a chess move. Specifically, refusing to release Paul Whelan now throws American politics into chaos, with the next Congress coming in that is going to be Republican dominated in an effort to hope to sow division in hopes that the American people won't approve of more money being sent to Ukraine. So that is the one thing that somebody can say that was a chess move, because it is clear as day that that's the reason why they did this. But the Republicans that we just looked at, the useless far-right pieces of shit that we just looked at, are playing into that. They are useful idiots to Putin's agenda. And they don't care because they hate liberals. They hate lefties. They hate minorities in the country. They want to see Trump come back into office and do nothing about any of this. Trump didn't get Paul Whelan released, but they asked. There's journalists that asked, why didn't Trump get Paul Whelan released when he was captured in 2018? And Trump kind of just flubbed that question. Got some comments from the audience here. We're going to go with maybe it isn't me first, because I do want to, Quibbles, I'm going to address your question here, but I think this is important here. So maybe it's me, isn't me, said, if she was a dude yelling, hell yeah, stone cold stunning Milwaukee's best, they would be happy as, oh no. True, they would be. And Quibbles makes a good point. This is a good point, and I think this should be addressed, okay? If Republicans were making this point, by and large, I would be less likely to be like, hey, they're useless pieces of crap, right? So Quibbles Over Coffee, longtime observer of the show, been on the show a couple of times, says there are downstream costs to this kind of trade. It emboldens Iran, Qatar, Russia, North Korea, etc. to all take more Americans in future of hoping to reach similar results. Yes, I agree with that. I agree that that is the consequences of dealing with reality here. That we're put in a rock and a hard place here. We can either allow Americans to suffer in Russian prison, things that they probably aren't even guilty of what they're accused of, all because we don't want to embolden other people to do it. And that is always the calculation that's being done here. There was something exchanged with North Korea under Trump, and Trump got back a dead man, basically. So that was fun. But part of the point of government is to solve situations like this. And yes, I'm going to put this up here too. Quibbles continued to say, like, she doesn't deserve to be in jail, obviously, but there's massive downstream effects of a trade beyond the two prisoners themselves. It's a precedent thing. I agree with you. As I was saying, though, it is my opinion that part of the point of government is to help solve these kind of issues. If you're an American traveling overseas and you get arrested overseas and it was something you didn't commit, then the government should do what it can in order to bring you home safely. Because if it doesn't, then what is the point of government overall? There is none. Governments are there to help protect people against the aggression of other people. And this is a form of aggression. Now, mind you, if you do commit a murder or you commit some other sort of heinous crime in another country, America will let you rot a bit, at least a bit, because that's what we would do here. Now, it's possible that we would agree to have you serve your sentence here, assuming that it was like a fair legal process, you weren't railroaded or something like that. Again, there's things here that we can talk about. There's nuance here. There's definitely nuance. But America would likely, let you stay in prison for a bit because you committed a crime, a heinous one. That's what we do. We let people serve crime. We let people serve time for crimes they commit and found guilty of in accordance with jurisprudence and fair legal processes. But that's not what happened here. These are 2 political prisoners being used by Russia for political gain against Russia. To cap this off with, quibbles over coffee said afterwards, there's like a 15-second delay here. Yeah, true. Definitely not defending Benny Johnson and Charlie Kirk because they're not making the same point that he was. So again, good to know. And then finally, maybe it isn't me, agrees with us saying that, quote, it'll be a chess piece for peace in Ukraine. I agree with that. I think that that's probably what it is going to be. This is where we're at in America right now. We are willing to let people rot in prison for things that they likely did not do over internal politics. That's how divided the country is. And maybe it wouldn't be so divided if we had, I don't know, actual reason to believe people are who they say they are online. Manufacturing consent is so easy right now, and all this that I just talked about is part of it.